Oh, good.
Okay. Okay, now. Okay.
If you're just now entering the stadium, feel free to scan the QR codes on the giant posters to sign more petitions and donate more funds. Thank you. And if you don't feel like standing, feel free to sit down. It's just turf. Would you bring a hand sanitizer thing over here for the stage? Yeah, because volunteers are done signing. $25.
Okay. Hey, how are you? I wish I could hug you. Look at you all dressed up. You trying to show us off? Everybody has on jeans.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get a little bit more people. No. Oh, wait, what do you mean? Yeah, let's put it right next. No, you can put it right next to it.
One of the guys' phone isn't working, or is dead, so how do I sign up for it? Should have probably screenshotted that. Oh, wait, no, I think it's this one. Right here. I think I'm just standing.
Dustin, Caleb, me, David, Shanti.
Good enough. She can talk. She and I have touch base meetings.
My mom's ringtone is a Mexican ass song. Embarrassing.
Alright, so for the say the name aspect, everybody is on the stage.
So do you have a meeting already scheduled with her?
Anybody else one day.
So do you have one scheduled with her already?
Oh, yeah, on Tuesday.
Yeah, we can have that. Me too. Sam, Mark, Clark, what name?
Tom, do we have a public safety officer who can light breaker to turn off the lights when the picture starts?
Hi, Kathy. And officer there, ready. Just tell her when you're ready, shut up.
Maybe someone is going to say the same.
Hey everybody, make sure you guys go to your designated, find a designated zone.
I was going to say,
Pretty much every zone has a number, so I'll ask them to just wave which zones still have less than 25 people in them, and you guys can go over there. You guys, make sure you pick a random say the live is picking up all of this. The live stream is picking up all of those. They can see us? Yeah. Guys, all zones that have less than 25 people, please raise your hand. Alright, so you can follow any one of those zones. So zone 12, looking open. Who else is open? Zone 2 or zone 1, is that you? 1? Alright, zone 1 is open back there.
Take some extra space too.
Guys, please maintain social distancing. If you're seeing punches, please tell your people in your zone to please spread out. Once again, guys, remind your students to spread out. And that means moving back as well. Zones 1, 2, 7, and 8 are looking a little empty. Make sure you're heading over there if you're just now walking in. Zones 1, 2, 7, and 8 need more people in them. Hey, make sure you guys aren't pumping up spread out.
Okay, social distance, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, but you have to say that you have doctors. Then we have what we discussed this summer. And then after that is when we're going to do speeches. Zone 5 is also open if you're just now heading in. Right here. Yeah, I have to turn them off. He said somebody who's at the station as well. Hey, Tom. Yeah, I don't know if someone's talking to the officer about the lights as well. So when we're ready to turn off, we're good to go.
I sent you the direct message, and I was just like, hey, I need to get off early, and then I'll go back, and by the time I hit your feet, like, now I'm not even getting okay, so you tell me.
I think that's 17.
I don't know how I would feel about that situation.
I think enough people
Yeah,
are
I
here.
figured, I just wanted to let you know.
Candle lighters, you can now begin lighting candles. Candle lighters now begin lighting candles. So it's perfect in the light. There's still people coming in. Guides, please raise your hand if your zones are still under 25. Guides, please raise your hand if your zones are still under 25. Zone 7 and Zone 1 and 2, I believe, are still under 25. Zone 13 as well. Zone 1 is also under 25 persons as well. Make sure you're socially distancing. Please spread out. Please keep spreading out. I'm still seeing a lot of clusters. Please spread out. Thank you.
Kelly, what's your count? 61.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. Once again, zone guides that are under 25, keep raising your hands.
128.
Can I have a candlelight up to my center stage? Big candlelight up to my center stage. Just like it. I mean, like what? Thank you. Can I have a more samples? All right. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jacob Washington, and I want to thank the various student organizations, administration, and social and Greek groups that assisted in making this event here to you today. We want to pay honor and vigil to the Black lives lost in the last 400 years. And it's been really hard for the Black community and a lot of minorities to survive these past 6 months as we're dealing with a racial pandemic on top of the coronavirus pandemic. And so tonight, I ask of you to please join in and say their names. All right, so I will be saying a name. Well, I'll be saying their name, the name, and then I want you guys to repeat after me. Say her name, Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Say his name, George Floyd.
George Floyd.
Say her name, Tony McDade.
Tony McDade.
Say her name, Rakia Boyd.
Rakia Boyd.
Say her name, Olubatoyin Salu.
Olubatoyin Salu.
Say his name, Sean Reed.
Sean Reed.
Say his name, Eric Garner.
Eric Garner.
Say his name, Botham Jean.
Adam Jean.
Say her name, Tatiana Jefferson.
Tatiana Jefferson.
Say his name, Stephen Clark.
Stephen Clark.
Say his name, Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice.
Say his name, Michael Brown.
Michael Brown.
Say her name, Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland.
Say her name,
Ayana Jones. Say his name. Jacob Blake. Say her name. B. Love Slater. Say his name. Alton Sterling.
Say his name. Sam DuBose. Say his name. Jamar Clark. Say her name. B. Love. Say his name. Walter Scott. Say her name. Zoe Spears. Say her name. Dominique Fells. Say his name. David McCaddy. Say her name. Shaniqua Proctor. Say his name. Antoine Rose Jr. Say his name. Sam Cook. Say his name. Rodney King. Say his name. Emmett Till. Say her name. Vanessa Guillen. Say her name. Darlene Cristabel Cordova Valle. Say his name. Say her name. Jacqueline Call Makin. Say his name. Felipe Gomez Alonso. Say his name. Juan de Leon Gutierrez. Say his name. Wilmer Jose Ramirez Vasquez. Say his name. Carlos Hernandez Vasquez. Say his name. Robbie Tolan. Say her name. Henrietta Lax.
Say his name. Freddie Gray. Say her name. Eddie Mae Collins. Say her name. Denise McNair. Say her name. Carol Robertson. Say her name. Cynthia Wesley. Say her name. Maya Hall. Say his name. Laquan McDonald. Say her name. Chantel Davis. Say her name. Tanisha Anderson. Say his name. Ahmad Aubrey. Say her name. Sandra Bland. Say his name. Trayvon Martin. Say her name. Aliana Stanley Jones. Say his name. Chauncey Morton. Say her name. Malaysia Booker. Say his name. Daniel Crew. Say her name. Charlena Lyles. Say his name. Philando Casilla.
is a time to acknowledge the lives that we've lost, the names that we have mentioned. And so for that, I would like to have a moment of silence.
Thank you. If you'd like, you may take your seat, or you could remain standing and gently affirm. Good evening. My name is Dr. Monica Smith. I am the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Augustana College. And I am grateful to be here with you tonight, acknowledging the lives lost in this vigil, and also encouraging all of us to do our fair share, to learn about injustice, and to act on injustice when we come across injustice. I'm excited to join Augustana College as the college continues to progress toward achieving the strategic goals that it set forth. The college has already laid important groundwork to foster a fertile environment for inclusion and diversity. My goal is to build on that foundation to move toward a more inclusive Augustana, one that continues to honor the 5 faith commitments, particularly social justice. That was the first public statement I made upon my appointment as the inaugural Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I have been asked to share information about the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion unit tonight. The DEI unit includes the offices of the Vice President for Diversity. This is a senior leadership position. I report to President St. Paul's. There are 2 student-facing offices. The Office for Student Inclusion and Diversity, Ms. Ashley Allen, is the interim director of that office, and the Office for International Student and Scholar Services, which Ms. Soni Yang is the director. Both of these offices are located in the Gerber Center. Together, we partner with all the offices across the campus to fulfill Augustana's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion mission. And that mission is to strengthen diversity, equity, and inclusion and enhance intercultural competence of students and employees. Likewise, we partner to fulfill a vision. That vision is to be a campus community that reflects the diversity in the world, to be attentive to equitable practices, to create a learning environment that emphasizes experiences, and perspectives, and to be a campus where there's a similar sense of belonging for each of our students and employees. How does this relate to why we're all gathered here tonight? This vigil is to remember the lives lost to racial injustice, and I found out just this morning that it's also to highlight the gaps Augustana still needs to fulfill in achieving our mission and our vision. Most notably, sense of belonging of our Black, Brown, Indigenous, International, and other students whose identities are underrepresented and marginalized. As I said earlier, in my first public statement, that one of my goals as a Chief Diversity Officer is to build on the foundation that has been laid to move us toward a more inclusive Augustana, one that continues to honor particularly our social justice tradition. I'm going to read to you some excerpts from our social justice commitment. Augustana College encourages the development of a campus community that seeks justice, loves kindness, and acts with love and humility. We commit to making our campus a more liberal place for all people by loving and serving our neighbor and by acting against injustice and intolerance. Through student groups, offices, and programs, Augustana shows students ways to serve others and to advocate for justice and peace. We seek to embody the ideals of justice, peace, civility, and love in our institutional practices and relationships, to develop fair and charitable policies, shaping how we relate to each other. I know that the students who follow me are going to highlight some gaps that exist as reminders to keep this commitment and to hold ourselves accountable. This is their vision for Augustana, and it is important. I want you to know that I'm here for it. I'm happy to partner in this journey and to help move us in the direction of achieving our salient and important commitments. Before I leave, I want to remind you that this summer we created a webpage, Augustana for Racial Justice and Social Change. This is a resource page for everyone in the Augustana community. One of the important items that you'll find on that page is the Presidential Fund for Racial Justice and Equity. This fund, established by President Mr. Walz, encourages students to initiate projects that support equity and justice. In closing, let us know, as each of us lifts our voices and stands in solidarity to confront injustice and to pursue justice, that vigils memorialize, demonstrations and rallies like this increase awareness. Education enhances our knowledge, and advocacy changes structure. They are all purposeful. We each have a role in creating the places we want to exist. It is our civil right and our duty to confront injustice and to work toward dismantling oppressive injustice. Thank you to Jacob Washington, the president of the Black Student Union, and to Brett Nyder, the president of Phi Iota Epsilon, for putting this together and for inviting me to participate. Onward together.
Thank you, Dr. Sept. So this past quarantine, when I was reached out to by Brett, just perhaps I was in honoring Black Lives Lost, immediately a meeting, a collaboration with multiple the social and groups, well, mostly the culture groups, exactly, got together and just discussed what are some things we want to see change on campus. And these are just some thoughts of thought of. Now, you know that the administration has been working towards some of these things. These were thoughts shared amongst various students throughout the quarantine summer period. This is not a reflection, once again, of the administration's relevant and current groundbreaking work and effort towards these issues during the academic school year, nor is it an attack towards the administration. So the first thing that we wanted to see was the ability to implement clear language for consequences for racial bias incidents and be more proactive about bias incidents both on a staff and student body level. Next, we want to see better funding and maintenance of the culture houses. 3, we want a counselor of color. To understand us, you must be one of us. 4, we want a stronger effort to recruit and retain staff and students of color. Incentivizing these staff to teach longer at Augustana gives students of color more stability and more of a home safe for the campus. Also, offer events that let students of color want to stay more on a student body level. Moreover, students and staff of color represented in higher positions across campus on a domestic, but especially an international level. Job diversity for international students and not just the dining hall. International students need to get jobs, and for incoming international students, that is not a quick reality a lot of them face. By the time that they get the social security information, as well as other credentials that set them up for life in the United States here at Augustana, majority of the jobs here are gone. We want to see the college take affirmative action, and hopefully we are taking affirmative action towards this step for true job prosperity across domestic and international levels. In addition to that, we want better acclimation for them into the Rock Island climate because it does get cold, and low layering is suggested in giving guidelines for a lot of international students are still struggling to properly cover themselves in the winter months. We also want physical workshops or privilege summers that require most, if not all, Augustana students to attend regarding how to be a better ally, what is racial sensitivity, and what having privilege truly means. 7, academic assistance. We need better maintenance of students of color and majors across the board here at Augustana. Works by persons of color include in the curriculum, and working to create resources that's feasible and allows better maintenance of these students in these majors. And lastly, dialogue with public safety regarding students of color relations and racial bias training is being done on public safety and Rock Island Police Department level. Once again, these are things that we thought of over the summer, and now that we know, and the year has started full swing in the school has revealed many and various steps that they are taking to close these gaps. We want to let you guys know to also hold yourselves and those in the administration accountable. Please stay with me, and if you are an ally here, please acknowledge the privilege that you have and acknowledge the issues that you from your space. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Darlington, so I go by Destiny. I am an international student from Liberia, West Africa, and I'm here tonight on behalf of my fellow international students to join our African American counterparts in honoring all Black lives lost to police violence and systemic racism in America. That said, may we observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Since I was born, this is not only my first time to live outside of my home country. It is also my first experience to live in a society where the color of the skin puts a life on the line. Living in a black body in America is like being on vacation, where one more mistake will cost your life. People of color are expected not only to be perfect in America, but also subjected to the feeling of being less than a person, ready to grab at any time at the convenience of the cost. And as international students, wearing the same targeted values in the US, we feel equally unsafe and insecure in America. On a daily basis, we endure various forms of racism, such as microaggression, microaggression, tone policy, and ideological oppression. So, the least thing we can do for us as allies is to sit with us, people of color, in calling out racial divisions. Indeed, Augustana College is one of the few colleges in the U.S. that is doing a tremendous job in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it is all thanks to Dr. Monica Smith, who is the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Augustana College, whose tireless job recently earned Augustana College the Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award for a record 7th time out of over 300 students. Ladies and gentlemen, please give us an applause. Certainly that is a booster, and it is a booster forward. But we are here to make the school years better. That's it. Please permit me to flesh out some of the issues on campus. First, I want to talk about the issue of job disparity on campus. As international students, we work primarily in family services compared to our domestic counterparts who enjoy limitless opportunities not only to work in various areas of campus, but also to work anywhere in their country at any time with no restrictions. Compared to us, we can only do campus jobs, along with restricted CPCs and OPCs. This means that if you are not empowering us with opportunities on campus, no one is going to empower us with opportunities on campus. And that is hard for us because we need these opportunities to be able to afford our textbooks and afford our health insurance fees. Also, first year international students don't get to access handshakes on time or to obtain their social security numbers soon enough to enable them to catch up with campus job opportunities. And because of that, they have to wait at least a semester at Augustana before they can get access to these things. Before they can even access handshake, most of the jobs, most of the prestigious jobs on campus have already been occupied by domestic students. As a result, we pull into economic. Therefore, we demand that the students provide more employment opportunities for international students on campus, make handshake accessible before or during the admission process, and provide resources so that students can acquire their social security numbers before beginning the term. To conclude, Black Lives Matter, and that's the least thing that we all can find common ground on. It matters today, it matters tomorrow. It will always matter. And we cannot achieve equality until we achieve equity. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caleb Minnis, and I'm a junior here. It's funny that I look back at the choice of vernacular that was brought into my life when I was a younger teenager. Think about how problematic my word choice could have been without the education that I was given by those around me. The R word, the G word, the F word, any word in the alphabet that is now in the no-no book was once culturally acceptable. And even after the deletion from normalcy, the effects go into the vulnerable young people around the culture. Peer pressure pushes us to fit in stereotypes, pushing us to become something that we don't want to be, for people that don't even respect us. Looking at the makeup of the school, we truly have diversity, but what the culture houses fought for by the students The OSID, advocated by the students. Culture groups, formed by the students. It doesn't mean that we are, as a combined student group, in any way inclusive. As a freshman, I dealt with the struggles of a coach that didn't understand the changing times, and that simply wasn't acceptable. The use of microaggressions and blatant name calling is all too common throughout this world and should not have happened in a safe haven like the volleyball court. The issues that we are afraid to have are these conversations that might create controversy. We shy away from the chance to make change because it creates a possible avenue for uncomfortability. But I realize as a member of the campus, especially as a member of the volleyball team, that I have a voice that deserves to be heard, and action deserves to be taken. And to say in short, it was. The teammates that supported me throughout this helped me to stay strong enough to speak against it. That is what Ally does. Ally doesn't slide up on our teammates' Black Lives Matter posts and block them because they don't agree with them. They ask how they can help and support you throughout your toughest struggles. And Ally creates comfort and almost the illusion of possible equality when you are in their atmosphere. What I am here to say to the Augustana community is to be the voice of these students, to educate yourselves on how to be an ally. Take action toward your group members posting hazardous material on social media. Don't be silent when a teammate is ignorant to your Black teammate's struggles. Stand up to those who throw away microaggressions and ignorance everywhere. Recognize the definition of a bystander, because a bystander is not an ally. Being quiet and not choosing to support Black lives, LGBTQIA+ lives that are continually receiving injustice, has the same effect of a person not voting in an election. By not using your voice, by not agreeing with an argument, you allow these minority voices to be unheard. By not going to the voting polls, you leave a chance for officials to handle situations of racial and social inequality in the same way that they have been, resorting once again to the fight for the realization that lives like mine need to matter because our government does not believe so. I take a look 3.5 months back to where I once was. I was with my family hearing about George Floyd being attacked and choked to death by the leg of another law enforcement quote-unquote officer. I realized that I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. So here I am to say that I essentially did not. I spoke against the status quo all those months ago. A quote that I believe is still evident from then is this: to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. When I spoke to my parents on the situation of Black Lives Matter and all cops are bad, my parents told me to relax. I was simply overstressing myself and educating others of what they should already know. This is the time for allies to speak for us, not for us to be the victims and to be heard like a broken record. Of course we are angry. People hate and fear us for a living and breathing in these ebony-colored skins. Listen to what we have to say. It just takes patience, strength, hope, candor, and everything else that is necessary to create a better Augustana. Because we need to be better Augustana. Speak for those who can.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Aguayo, and I am from Jalpa, Zacatecas, Mexico. I grew up on the south side of Chicago in between the neighborhoods Back of the Yards and Englewood. Because I lived in a community full of people of color, I've seen the disparity between people of color and white folk. I saw this once I entered high school, a scholarship kid in a white school. Students would constantly call me Beaner, Mexico, Maria, trying to mock me, spitting out the N-word as there wasn't Black kids at the school that would tell them to stop. The people of color constantly called the white kids out for it and no action was ever taken. For example, during the summer, there was a situation that was brought to my attention about these 2 girls from my old high school. So the girls decided to go on Facebook Live and mock the N-word repeatedly. At this point, I obviously had a platform, so many people gave me information to get some sort of justice. I helped my friends out and got media attention on the situation, but the school ended up doing nothing about it, which is what I see here at Augustana. It's not that I want to call anyone out or make some type of divide. I just really want to see change, because how could us people of color feel at home where we are being silently judged left and right, where we feel like there's preference with who attends this school? I mean, some people here think that we're screaming Black Lives Matter because we hate white people, but we don't. We're screaming Black Lives Matter because they're being killed because of their skin color. They're being mocked on social media. They're being lynched in 2020. The underlying fear that some white people have puts Black and brown lives on the line every day. We need to show each other support, no matter what community it is. People of color shouldn't feel like targets. We shouldn't have to see videos of George Floyd going around the internet. We shouldn't see a Black man murdered by a white cop while white cops are watching. We shouldn't have millions crying because they know that something like that could happen to them. When they see that video, they see their child, their brother, their fathers, their uncles, etc. When we hear stories like Breonna Taylor's, a Black woman who was murdered in her sleep by cops, and she still hasn't received justice. When we hear stories like Vanessa Guillen, who was a Hispanic woman who was murdered by her own troop, who was dismembered and put into a shallow grave, and nothing was done about her disappearance for days. But if it was a white woman, there would have been a search party after 24 hours. I mean, if all lives matter, then why are people of color being killed more than the white folk? People can't say blue lives matter, but what really is that? That a job matters more than a person of color's life? It was apparently a job that mattered more than the lives of a couple dozen people of color. Because a few weeks ago, my friends and I were beat, we were pepper sprayed, and we were tear gassed just for standing in the middle of the street trying to get CPD out of primarily Black and brown Chicago public schools. Standing in the middle of the street protesting in memory of all the lives that have been put on the line or taken because of police brutality. 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds were surrounded by white allies when the cops started to push through. But the cops removed the white allies and made us bleed by hitting us with sticks, stomping on my friend's head, and even pushing us into concrete as they were putting their whole body on top of us. They used military tactics such as kettling on teenagers, and the mayor didn't bat an eye. They left us traumatized and scared. Lastly, the mass genocide of women, the unwanted hysterectomies, and ICE location is not humane. The women in these detention centers deserve the right to decide if surgery should be made on their bodies. The children there shouldn't be kept in cages, in their own filth. Some of you may not believe this to be true, but it is. I've seen it firsthand when I had to drive to a detention center to fight for the rights of my two little sisters and my stepmom after they were detained. Imagine having to drive to see your siblings with tears in their eyes because they knew they weren't going home, that they would have to remove themselves from their whole lives because they apparently don't belong here. I could see the fear in their eyes, and that broke my heart. ICE agents wouldn't listen to them. I begged just to hold my 2-year-old sister, to tell my other sister, who's 12, to be careful. To tell them that I called everyone, that everything was going to be okay, but no, they were sent to Mexico in less than 24 hours. They shouldn't have had to felt that way. We shouldn't have to feel this way. The fear, it ain't right. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tajania Jenkins, and I'm a senior here. David couldn't make it tonight, so I'm speaking on his behalf. Hello, everyone. My name is David Mason III, current treasurer of BSU, football player, fellow student, but most importantly, a big brother and a son to my proud parents. Benjamin Todd Jealous, American Silver Leader and former president and CEO of the NAACP, stated, Racial racial profiling punishes innocent individuals for the past actions of those who look and sound like them. It misdirects crucial resources and undercuts the trust needed between the law enforcement and the community they serve. It has no place in our nation's discourse and no place in our nation's police department. So, what is profiling? We all hear this word, but what are the connotations behind this meaning? As defined by Oxford Languages, it is the recording and the analysis of a person's psychological and behavior characteristics so as it's inserted and predicted their capabilities in certain spheres or to assist in identifying a particular subgroup of people. Now, I really want to focus on the last part here. Prediction of their capabilities based on a certain spheres or environment or identifying a subgroup of people. Unfortunately, throughout history, we minorities have experienced the physical, emotional, and mental trauma of profiling. Whether it was the assessments of Native Americans, learning the physical capabilities of black people for enslavement, and the many other labels casted upon minorities as well. But for those profiling, do they ever look at the other side of those being profiled? Constantly living in fear because of where you live or where you're from, being a different skin color, wearing different types of clothes, and having a different type of clothes, and having a different type of religion, or in some instance, just being in the wrong place. When my mother was pregnant with me, my dad and her had been driving and were pulled over by two police officers in Detroit with their hands already on their weapons. My mom has always told me about the fear that she had had in that moment, not only for herself, but for my father, and even me, who was unborn at the time, if something had escalated in the case like Fernando Castillo, who was brutally killed in front of his daughter and girlfriend in his car. Fast forward to February 26, 2012, Trayvon Martin, a black teen, was killed due to being a suspect of being a threat while walking and wearing a hoodie. My mother was so afraid for my life that she took all my hoodies that I had and threw them away. I constantly asked myself who was a middle school student at the time, why? Why throw away all my clothes, and why can't I simply wear a hoodie and walk down the street and seem like everybody else? Why do my friends here ask me to go out with them late, but out of fear of who I am, I choose not to go out at certain times of the night in fear of becoming a target? Constantly wondering why my driver's ed teacher, an ex-officer, after class pulled me aside after learning what to do when being pulled over, but for me specifically, I had to learn a different set of rules. Don't move at all, don't speak too fast, and only stop in well-flickered, well-lit areas, and have your phone on record. But unfortunately, what I had to learn growing up, unlike many other black boys and girls, are the harsh realities of profiling and adultification of black people. I personally have family members and family friends of mine that do the work in the police force, and they serve honorably to uphold the law and make sure that some, but not all people are safe, and regardless of their racial makeup, and I am certain that there are many other like them as well. But the reality is, there is also a show that there is also who do not do their job the right way, in which we have those who choose to be the judge, jury, and executioner, which leads to the events that we have seen this year, but unfortunately for black people, the last 400 years. Both my grandfathers served for this country. My great uncle is a Vietnam War survivor after being shot. My uncle is an Air Force veteran that also served overseas in Germany and Japan for this country. We are American people too, and it is our right to have a proper execution of the law without an ethical bias, profiling, and adultification. All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. It is truly an American issue. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leica Mecanto, and before I begin, I wanted to say a few words of my own. The Augustana community is not exempt from any type of racism or hate speech. Students vilifying and mocking Asian culture, or any culture at that, then posting a video about it, is reprehensible. Any type of discriminatory rhetoric against a person's nationality, racial identity, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, ability status, religion, or any other aspects of identity should never be tolerated. Lastly, it's not our responsibility to educate you on why your actions are hateful. We've always been told that since this is an institution made for higher education, that it's our responsibility to educate these students. But how many times does it take? How many times are we going to continue to make excuses for them to realize that enough is enough? From here on out, I'd like to make it clear that I will be reading on behalf of Joyce Matangihan, who was unable to make it here tonight. Hello, everyone. My name is Joyce Matangihan, and I'm a sophomore here at Augie. I am a first-generation student, a Filipina, an Asian American, a woman, and a person of color. I am a daughter of immigrants and a future educator, wishing for, demanding for, no longer willing to wait for, a change. Ever since this derogatory and disgustingly named Chinese virus entered America, we have had over 2,000 and counting hate crimes against us. From physical attacks, to verbal assaults, to workplace discrimination and online harassment, they are all fueling the desire for whiteness and prejudice against people from other countries. It is time for us to stand together as people of color and with people of color. It is also time for us to not take coronavirus as a joke or use it to discriminate against and terrorize our fellow Asian siblings. For a while now, we have been at the brunt of insensitive jokes. We have been a culture to be appropriated. We have been fetishized, and we have long endured the ever-growing xenophobia plaguing this country. Through the constant stares, the name mispronunciations, and the mocking of our accents, through the jokes about our eyes or eating animals, and the societal pressure to uphold this model minority myth, through the why you speak no Englishes, the know where you really froms, and the go back to where you belongs, we have for far too long had the feeling of being outcast. I am tired of the casual racism towards Asians. I am tired of people assuming that my intelligence is attributed to my race. I am tired of being seen as submissive and desirable as an exotic breed. I am tired of people thinking that I am a stranger in my own country. I am tired of people assuming that all of us are the same despite the plethora of different countries and cultures within the continent. And I am especially tired of speaking on behalf of my own race or any Black, Indigenous, person of color within a society that continuously belittles us. If y'all don't know about a woman named Yuri Kuchiyama, then you better look her up. She's a powerful Asian American activist who advocated in Black revolutionary politics and Asian American empowerment, alongside her friend, Malcolm X. She realized that in order for Asian American struggle to be recognized, we first need to end the systemic racism that hurts Black Americans and African Americans. As Asians, we do have a role in not giving into white rhetoric about being non-confrontational and not getting involved. For years, the system has pitted us against one another to continue this country's system of white supremacy. The colorism and anti-blackness needs to stop. Everyone must join together to dismantle it. We must stand in solidarity with our Black siblings to get the justice that they deserve. We need the supportive relationship among all communities of color, and we need white allies to help uplift and amplify Black voices. As members of the Augustana community, we must educate ourselves, work on dismantling our own biases, and support Black communities. We need to actively listen to each other and learn from each other, standing alongside each other, fighting against the oppression of Black people. Without justice, we have no peace. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are tired of the lack of justice and empty promises. As allies, we need to create active and educated dialogue with families, friends, and those with opposing views. Speak your truth. Do not settle for less, and always demand for more. Our Black siblings' voices need to be heard, and their lives need to matter for real change to occur. No longer should we strive for proximity to whiteness and exclude those with darker skin. We must celebrate our heritage and admire the beauty in our melanated skin. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. Say it with me. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashanti Mobley, and I'm a senior here at Augustana College. Being a Black woman in America is hard. At a young age, I was discriminated against in school and in public by my peers and adults. As a young Black girl, I didn't know that non-Black teachers and adults would judge and punish me because of their prejudice of Black girls being angry, fast, or sexually deviant and flippant. They would snap at me when I asked a question, and sometimes before I even spoke. People assumed I was mean and that I fought. In the 3rd grade, my white friend's mother was surprised that I spoke so well and was unexpectedly respectful, making me feel insecure of my own vernacular. I experienced at a young age that because of my intersecting identities, I was not treated the same as my peers. This was just the beginning. As a Black woman, I had to become protective of my Black family. As a Black student here, I worry about my Black peers. I fear for my Black peers walking outside late at night because police see Black people as guilty until proven innocent. Recently, I've had friends who were racially profiled by Rock Island police and interrogated as if they had done something wrong. I get nervous when I see police, wondering what their motive is and what they see when they see me. Being Black is wondering if the color of your skin will be the factor in whether you make it home that day. And with being a Black woman is being forgotten in the equation. Being a Black woman is not choosing whether to be a woman or to be Black, but is dealing with this intersection of identities and facing the brunt of them both. As a Black woman, I would be neglected in society. And if I was seen, it was as a target or an object. We are criticized for expressing autonomy and pride in ourselves, things that men and white people are praised for. We had to teach ourselves that we are worthy, and we continue to do so. Malcolm X once said, "The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman." Living in America as a Black woman, I haven't heard words more true. I am particularly disgusted and disappointed.
You got this, Ashanti.
way that black women are being treated in today's society, particularly with Breonna Taylor's case. Black women should be prized in this country. To my fellow black brothers, I pray that you continue to protect black women. Black women spearhead and drive these movements to what they are today. From the pain in the hearts of black women. In the protests, they are the ones who stand on the front line, shouting their pain, their exhaustion, and their fight for change. While we muster this strength, we are still affected deeply. According to society and history, black women should be strong all the time. We should help others and receive the bare minimum to nothing in return. As a black woman on campus, all my years here have been filled with doing race and social justice work while dealing with microaggressions, blatant racism, sexism, etc. I've heard the N-word said by white people in dorms for the first time. When I confronted them, I was met with gaslighting, heartache, frustration. All the while still teaching people why it is not okay for non-black people to say the word and how to be racially competent through small conversations, symposium day sessions, and even a demonstration, only to hear the same students scream it out at parties that same night. When we say we are hurt by this, you don't believe us and tell us we are overreacting, while turning yourself into the victim. The privilege you have to become the victim in a situation where you are the perpetrator is a problem. We are told that what we see is not there and that our reality is false. When I tell my professor I didn't complete the assignments due to mental illnesses, she tells me that's not what happened and not to self-diagnose. She invalidated my own physical and mental being, which many other professors continue to do after her. Even talking about it is uncomfortable and almost taboo for black people. For when it comes to mental health, black people are completely disregarded. As black students and students of color, we are constantly reminded and hyper-aware of our marginalized identities. We have to be the teachers, while our white counterparts have the privilege to thrive and be ignorant to it all. Students of color are the reason why Augustana receives awards and is acknowledged for diversity and inclusion. My advice to you all, talk and listen to us. Inform yourselves. For faculty and staff, be considerate. Avoid telling students, if so-and-so can do it, so can you. We cannot turn off how we feel. Our hearts and minds are heavy with pain, confusion, and exhaustion, yet we are still doing the work of advocates, leaders, and college students. We will not be desensitized to who we are and what we go through. On top of being here, we have to worry about our families and friends back home. We have to watch our own backs and each other's. Recognize that our different identities will affect our experiences deeply. Work to affirm us, our thoughts, and our feelings. Don't ignore us. Take that step and do better. We shouldn't have to keep explaining to you why our lives should matter.
Can we have one more round of applause for Ashanti, please? All right. Greetings, faculty, staff, and students of Augustana. Tonight, I would like to start off by saying, Brianna, I am so sorry. We are sorry that it had taken 194 days for officials to decide whether your life mattered or not. Contrary to that evil decision, it did. We are sorry that after performing 4 night shifts at the hospital as an EMT during a fatal pandemic. You lost your life due to over-policing and ineptitude. We are sorry that despite all of our best efforts, they have made you a spectacle with no justice to your passing. Though I am happy many of us are rallying for you and recognizing you as at this event, we shouldn't have to be here. We shouldn't have to constantly honor lives lost at the hands of injustice because no change is being made. This shouldn't be our normal, but for Black people, it is all too common. You see, being Black in America is going about your day, rolling with the punches life throws at you, believing you can handle them, and in that same breath, abandoning all that hope and belief when you're triggered by a microaggression, a racial slur, or for many of us, trauma from Black violence. The normalcy of even having to contemplate these thoughts or experience the dramatic realities of them is not right, and it shouldn't have to be normal. The country, since its inception, has made itself comfortable with unbridled violence against Black people. So much that even today, violence against Black people is nothing more but to be expected. That's crazy, right? We have normalized things that shouldn't have to be normal. And today, I would like to remind you of that. First and foremost, Black Lives Matter and social movements are not trends and need to stop being treated as such. They aren't hashtags you post any given day and move along about your day. They aren't black squares you post and then delete because your feed looks tacky. Outrage can't afford to be temporary. We need constant action. I repeat, constant action. These are meant for true work and actual allyship, not just because you want to save face. Moreover, Black trauma being publicized shouldn't be normal to see. Constant sharing of media in which a Black person being brutally beaten or murdered at the hands of police needs to stop being normal. We understand you want to raise awareness, but seeing life unfairly taken is too triggering for many of us. Imagine seeing someone who looks like you dehumanized to a point where they become a spectacle. Lastly, legitimization of Black death isn't normal. It has gotten too common that any counter-argument to over-policing is that the Black person should have acted accordingly. Well, maybe if she didn't do that, or maybe if he didn't do that, they would still be alive. That's pathetic. This is very sad, especially when our white counterparts can act on the same caliber or worse and survive. If it isn't that, it's their morals. Augustana campus community, I now speak directly to you. What I am about to say is not meant to divide us, but in hopes of addressing our issues, we will truly unite together. First and foremost, to my non-Black, Indigenous, people of color peers, we must stop normalizing avoidance of diversity around us. Yes, some of our mass events garner the campus's attention, but what about other events put on by our offices and culture groups to educate? There seems to be an unspoken rule in which the white majority campus is blind to the culture groups and the respective offices and the programming. It is too often that when we ask why there's such a lack of attendance at our own events from our non-POC peers, we are met with, oh, I didn't think it was my place, or I didn't know if I was welcome to come. Then in the same breath, we are asked, what is your organization about, and what do we do? Of course we oblige and explain, of course, but the reciprocity is almost never met. These events and programming are meant for everyone to come join and learn from each other. We would love to have you. These may be safe spaces for us first and foremost, but they're also just as inclusive to anyone ready and willing to understand. In addition to that, too much bystander and too little intervention has become a custom here at Augustana. This isn't simply saying something and saying something, but the aftermath as well. Too often, amongst the student body, we call out and denounce racism, yet you still don't actively work to end it. It is not enough to personally not be racist. I repeat, it is not enough to personally not be racist. You must actively be anti-racist. Say it with me. Actively anti-racist.
Anti-racist.
Thank you. That means holding people accountable, holding yourself, holding your fellow classmates, peers, friends, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters, and even family members accountable. Though it may seem we are attacking those around us, this is all from a place of love for the school and the work it continues to give us. But there will always be room for improvement, so never settle for less. Work on being an ally should be the new normal. True allyship is ongoing, constant, humble, and privilege-bearing, and I'm happy to see those among us, both staff and students, who have taken steps towards that on this very campus. Even being here amongst you today is the first big step. And it isn't solely Black, Indigenous, people of color's jobs to fix the issues. You must, once again, step up. We did not create the problem, so why should we have to fix it? It is time to get out of your comfort zone. Come to events, come to meetings, learn from us, learn about us, read uncomfortable texts, watch uncomfortable media, listen to uncomfortable testimony. The resources are around us. You simply have to willfully learn, just as many of you have taught yourself to be willfully ignorant. Soon, you will ask yourself, what are you doing? What were you doing when the world was burning around you? In the words of Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Now we have all witnessed each other know better and learn from each other. You have heard the testimonies of all your peers and classmates. Action must follow. This won't be easy, but true justice on the road to peace never is. It's time to do better. Thank you. I just wanted to say, personally, thank you all for showing up tonight. My Black, Indigenous, people of color peers, thank you for coming. I know this might be triggering for many of you. For the allies, and well, to get the title of ally, you must work on it. So everybody working to be an ally here tonight, thank you for showing up. Thank you for standing in solidarity with your person of color peers, brothers, and sisters. I also want to extend my gratitude to the Augustana administration, the VP of Diversity, Dr. Monica Smith, Dean Westbrooks, as well as Carrie Roche, Juliana Frick, and the additional helpers that they came to put this event before you. Ken Brill, thank you very much. Students who helped in the fall activism campaign that we have been doing for the last 3 weeks, whether it's the brochures, this Time to Do Better video, and the Instagram place cards, thank you so much for allowing this event to come to fruition. Brett, thank you so much. Brett Niederer, you can raise your hand. He's over there. Thank you so much on your steps to being an active ally. If it wasn't for him, this event might have been completely different. I remember over the summer when he reached out to me, just checking in on me and seeing what was going on. Because even I didn't know what the answer, what the next step, what was Augustana going to do after all this racial injustice has happened in this country. But he gave me this idea of having some type of way we honor Black lives and honor our brothers and sisters who have fallen amongst us. And for that, I'm truly thankful that he brought that idea to my attention, and we brought to fruition this vigil. And so once again, thank you, Brett. And for all the non-POC peers out here, take notes. Look around us. Look at all the resources that have been handed out to you. It is not enough to ask, what can I do? How can I help? Of course we'll oblige to answer, but we're not dictionaries. We're not Google. We're not search engines. The resources are around you. Dr. Monica Smith, the Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity, OISSS, BSU, LU, Filipino Student Organization, Vietnamese Student Organization, Asian Student Organization are all options and channels for you to learn better about what we go through. After seeing you all tonight, I expect our events and our meetings to be packed with inquiry and concern and true, genuine allyship. Because the days of having events of only people who look like us and people who don't look like us substantially not being there are over. It's time to come together as a community. Actually come together as a community and stop acting colorblind, because this campus has issues too. And we all know them around us. We might know people who have those issues. But it's time to hold ourselves and those people accountable. Once again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Please feel free to dump your candles into these trash cans. You know, fires and candles and stuff are not allowed in the res halls. In addition to that, we have various posters put across the field just with QR codes. Scanning QR codes, these will link you to petition funds and donation links. These will also be up in the campus throughout the week, the next oncoming weeks. The No Justice, No Peace banner will also be up in the brew in the following week for you guys to sign. And I truly want you to sign, because once you sign, you'll be held accountable, hopefully. Once again, thank you so much for coming out tonight, and have a beautiful evening. And once again, I also want to thank Tom Phillips of Public Safety for regulating this event and helping us have a safe space for us to truly grieve. Thank you once again.